Welcome students to the YouTube channel of Transition Career Solutions. We are here to discuss Icse Biology 2019 question pattern as well as few important topics which you have to study for your exam. As you know, you have faced your selection exams as well. The pattern remains the same. In biology, the total marks is 80, which is divided into two sections, section 1 and section 2, both of 40 marks each. Now section 1 is question number 1, right? And question number 1 is divided into 8 parts: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, right? So parts A to H, right? So question number 1 is divided from parts A to H, each of 5 marks, giving you a total of 8 into 5, 40. Now this section is especially very crucial because you do not have any options for this section, right? And let us discuss what types of questions that can come from your A to H, parts A to part H of question number 1. You can be asked questions like name the following. They'll give you a sentence which organ or which part or which disease they are talking about, and you have to name it, right? Very simply, you just have to write one word answer. You just name the organ or the part or the hormone, whatever, and you get full marks. You do not even have to write a complete sentence, but make sure that your question numbering should be very proper. Next is a very dicey question which I would like to discuss with you all, is true or false, right? There can be several methods by which they can ask you true and false. Now, in this regard, I should also tell you that reading of the question paper is very important. You get 15 minutes in hand to read the question paper. Make sure you invest your time properly, because true and false they can ask you. First type of question can be either state whether the statement is true or false. You just have to write whether, B, question number B has question number 1. They have a sentence like myopia is caused due to the rupturing of the tympanum. Is this statement true or false? Naturally, the statement is false, so you just have to write false, right? So this is one pattern of asking. Another pattern of asking is if your statement is false, if the statement which they have given is false, rewrite the correct statement by changing the first word only. Now this is where you have to pay attention. They have mentioned that you have to change the first word only. The first word here is myopia, right? So you can change only the first word. You cannot change the entire statement. From is to tympanum you cannot change. You just have to change myopia. So definitely your answer should be the statement is false, and the correct answer should be deafness is caused due to the rupturing or due to the rupture of tympanum, right? So this is how they can ask you true and false type 2. The third type of true and false they can ask you is, if the statement is false, you can either change the first word or the last word, right? So you can change the first word or the last word. So in this particular statement this is not applicable, but you can get several questions where you can change the first word or the last word to put forth the correct statement. The third type of question that they can ask you is write in a logical sequence. They can give you a series of events or series of organs. You have to arrange them in a logical sequence. Here you can see there are words like implantation, ovulation, childbirth, gestation and fertilization. Obviously we know that ovulation happens first, followed by fertilization, then implantation, then gestation, and then childbirth. So you do not have to write numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is for your rough work. You do it in a pencil, and in your exam, in your answer script, you write ovulation first, comma, then you write fertilization, comma, then implantation, comma, then gestation, comma, followed by childbirth, full stop. So this should be your answer, right? The next one is pick the odd one out. And write down the category to which others belong, right? So it is very easy to pick odd one out. You can see over here phototropism, the word is odd one. Why it is odd? Because all the other auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin and ethylene, all these 4 are phytohormones. They are phytohormones. Phytohormones I hope you know they are plant hormones, right? So in your table you will write the odd one out is phototropism, and the category to which the others belong, they are all phytohormones, right? So this is another question that can come, another type of question that can come. Then you might have choose the correct answer, like it is otherwise called MCQ. There will be 4 options and you have to correct tick the correct option, or otherwise write the correct option in your answer script. Next is structure and function. Structure and function, we always know that these questions are a bit tricky to answer. Why? Because there can be several functions to one organ or one specific site. Here they have written glomerulus. So one type of question can be glomerulus and dash. So we all know that glomerulus में क्या होता है? Glomerulus में we have ultrafiltration. So the answer should be glomerulus and ultrafiltration. So this is how they can ask you, or they can simply give you a word and they might ask you to define the word. You can be given differences, right? Differences according to what is given. According to what is given in brackets. They might give you, say, a question like artery and vein. You have to write differences between artery and vein, and bracket mein they might write you lumen. So according to the lumen of artery and vein, you have to write down differences between them. Next is classify as simple reflex or conditioned reflex. They might give you 5 events. 5 events they might give you, and out of the 5 events you have to classify them as simple reflex and conditioned reflex. So you have to jot down the simple reflex wala actions and conditioned reflex wala actions. Last, not the last one, but last one of the page. Fill in the blanks and complete the following statement. What they can do is they can give you, say, fill in the blanks where they can give you 5 fill in the blanks, or they can give you one whole paragraph in which there will be 5 blanks and you have to fill those blanks. In the similar way, they can ask you complete the following statement as well. So the next type of questions which we will see is complete the following box. So this is again very interesting. They might give you an organ and they might ask what is the location of this organ and what is the function of this organ. So suppose you have organ of Corti. For location you get half marks and for function you get half marks, right? So like this 5 questions will be there, comprising of half into half plus half, which will give you a total of 5. Another type of complete the following box, a really important one, which is ICSE's favorite, is hormone. Okay, straight one question you will get from endocrine system. They will give you a list of 5 hormones. Okay, you have to write the source and their function. Or they might also not give you the name of the hormone. They'll just write the source, they will write the function, you have to name the hormone. So you have to learn it either ways, right? The last type of question, which is definite, it comes every year. This is really important and people don't pay attention to it, is a diagram question. You might be surprised, yes. So diagram question is a must. 5 marks diagram is there in your section 1. You might be familiar with diagram questions which is there in section 2, but one diagram question will come in section 1. It can be any of the plant physiology experiment. It can be a diagram of the internal ear and 5 questions will be asked according to that diagram. Then they might give you an LS of the kidney. Then they might give you vasectomy, tubectomy, and you have to identify which is what. And again 5 questions or 5 short questions will be asked from the diagram. So the diagram will be given and you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 1, 2, 3, 4 questions on that diagram. So this is all the pattern that is possible for your ICSE. So ये सब pattern में से आएगा कितना? Any 8, A to H. I'm not telling you A, B, C, D पूरा यहाँ पे K, L तक जितना भी important है वो सब आएगा, लेकिन मैं ये बोल सकता हूँ कि इनमें से ही आएगा और कोई दूसरा pattern नहीं होता है question पूछने का. The question pattern is the same. Any of the 8 is going to come, but this name the following, true and false, logical sequence, diagram based questions, they come every year. Okay, so you have to pay attention to that. So students, this is your chapter wise important topic. So we will discuss all the different chapters and the important topics, questions that can come. So the first chapter of your syllabus is structure of chromosomes and cell division. Very important chapter with respect to your diagram type questions, because stages of mitosis will come. You will have a 5 marks question in which a drawing or a stage of your mitosis or the cell cycle will be given, and you have to identify that stage, and questions will be like, what happens, name 2 characteristics, what are the 2 characteristics of this stage, what is the stage which comes prior or which comes after. Prior matlab which comes, suppose we have prophase, we have metaphase, we have anaphase, followed by telophase. So a diagram, say suppose of anaphase comes, right? They might ask you what is the phase which comes prior to anaphase. So the answer should be metaphase, and then they might ask you also to draw a rough sketch of the metaphase. So please learn you just have to prepare a rough sketch, so you need not learn as such, but just go through the diagrams very nicely. Questions on composition of nucleotide. What are the differences between nucleotide, nucleoside and nucleosome? Okay, so 3 very similar sounding words, but there are differences. Please look into it. Again, a similar sounding pair is centrosome and centromere. Please have a look at that. Then cytokinesis, plant and animal, they might ask you. Needless to say that you have to learn all the different characteristics of each and every step of mitosis, be it karyokinesis or be it cytokinesis. Next we come to genetics. Genetics में सबसे important you have to learn laws of Mendel. All the 3 laws you have to learn. Then you have to understand the differences between phenotype and genotype. Right? Now you have to understand that phenotype and genotype is different from phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio. Ratios are something else, they are numbers. But what is a phenotype and what is a genotype, they might ask you as definitions or as differences. Again, differences, very common differences between autosomes and allosomes. You have to remember how many are there in human being. We have 44 autosomes and 2 allosomes, which can be either XX or XY. Right? It is useful for sex determination as well. Homozygous, heterozygous, very important. Monohybrid cross is important for this year, because every year it happens that ICC gives either monohybrid, dihybrid. So last year dihybrid came. So this year I can predict that monohybrid cross is important, but it does not anywhere state that they might not ask you a question from dihybrid cross. So please look at both properly, but do monohybrid cross अच्छे से, ठीक है. Next, I would also tell you to practice those problems on hemophilia and color blindness, which is of course here, but you can also prepare it here as well, because and of course sex determination as well, sex determination in human beings. Other than that, we have reasons why Mendel chose P and the 7 pairs of contrasting characters of P. Right? So this is all for genetics. Next we come to plant physiology. The first chapter of plant physiology is absorption by roots. Definitely questions on definition of osmosis, the 2 types of osmosis, endosmosis, exosmosis. What is the definition of imbibition? That particular experiment of thistle funnel where you dip it in only water, and then you have a thistle funnel over here which has a sugar solution, and there's a cellophane membrane here or an animal membrane here, so that endosmosis can take place. Right? So this particular experiment is there in your concise. Please have a look at it. Then you have questions on flaccidity and turgidity of cell. This is really important. It comes almost every alternate year. The question is on tonicity, whether you change the liquid in which the cell is kept, so that the cell either turns from turgid state to flaccid state or flaccid state to turgid state, etc. A cell might be drawn and they might ask you what state the cell is in, so you have to write the cell is in flaccid state. How can it be turned into a turgid cell? Of course, when you keep in a hypertonic solution. So all these logical questions might come from absorption by roots. So this is your first chapter of plant physiology. Next, which is important, which is there rather in your syllabus, is Transpiration, which is your second chapter of plant physiology. Now in transpiration, basically transpiration is let me tell you, all the 3-4 chapters of plant physiology, they are basically diagram based, right? So many experiments are there, you might expect a few diagrams from here and questions on the diagram. So in transpiration, you might have a question on stomatal, cuticular, lenticular transpiration, then factors affecting transpiration. Gannon's potometer is important, they might give you a diagram of Gannon's potometer, and then they might ask you few questions on Gannon's potometer, right? How do you introduce the bubble, what is the function of the bubble, okay, in the Gannon's potometer. Give one limitation of the Gannon's potometer. This is also a very frequent question. Questions on the experiments, different experiments on transpiration, cobalt chloride test, etc. There are loads, right? So please look into it. So diagrammatic questions may come. You will not be asked to draw the diagram. Drawing of the diagram only here. Drawing of the diagram over here in cell division. You might be asked to give a rough sketch of the previous or the later stages, or they might ask you a question of how would the cell look like if you dip it in a hypotonic solution. You have to just give a rough sketch, but they will never ask you to draw a Gannon's potometer. Okay, that is not possible. Next, again the same thing, photosynthesis. So what is destarching? Destarching steps, you have to understand very carefully what is the function of ethyl alcohol, what is the function of water, boiling water. So these are the things. Diagram of the chloroplast, it came in 2018, so you need not practice or you need not look into that. Questions on experiments of photosynthesis as to sunlight is required or not, chlorophyll is necessary or not, CO2 is necessary or not. According to me, CO2 is necessary, is important, ठीक है, but other than that sunlight वाला और chlorophyll वाला experiment भी एक बार कर लीजिएगा. What do you mean by photolysis? Equations of photolysis. What do you mean by photophosphorylation and only phosphorylation? ठीक है, there are two words actually, photophosphorylation and simple phosphorylation. What is the difference between these two? Dark phase is not there in your syllabus. Do not waste your time studying dark phase. Next we come to the last chapter, which is your new chapter which is starting from Icse 2019 onwards, which is chemical coordination in plants. Basically it's the hormonal the different hormones which is there in the plant, their functions you have to learn, and localization, where are they located within the plant. Of course plants do not have endocrine gland, neither do they have blood, so that the hormone can be disseminated into other parts of the body, but they have certain localized hormones, as in auxin is found in the root tips and shoot tips, gibberellin is found in the germinating seeds, right? So ऐसे ही सबका अलग अलग है, आपको सबका learn करना पड़ेगा, localization, function, etc. Right? Next we have tropic movement, which is very very important. Tropic movement is important, and tropic movement में से भी phototropic movement का there's this particular diagrammatic question in which you there is this sunlight, there's a window, there you have a potted plant here, and the plant is growing towards sun. The plant is growing towards sun. Right? So this is the shoot is definitely showing positive phototropic movement. Or ये वाला diagram they might give you, and they might ask you 5 small questions from here. And we know that for tropic movement, auxin is very very necessary. Right? So next we come to the first chapter of human physiology, which is circulatory system. Circulatory system, so you have to learn cardiac cycle, double circulation, very important, flow chart, very important. We have pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation, both they give you double circuit circulation, so that flow chart wala diagram can be given, and small questions as to what is this blood vessel number 1, what is blood vessel number 2, what is the difference between these two, right? They might ask you from this. They might also give you a diagrammatic sketch from here. Then what is the covering of the heart, known as, we know it's pericardium. Then what are the 4 valves, where are they located, what are the functions of the 4 valves, right? We have the atrioventricular valves like tricuspid, bicuspid valve, and then we have the semilunar valves like pulmonary and aortic valve. Right? So there are 4 valves, you have to mention the location and in general what is the function of the valves. Then we have heart sounds, lub and dub. Now this is the particular pattern in which you have to write lub and dub. Lub is a different word, dub is a different word. So when does lub occur? Now all these 3 questions, when does lub and dub occur, when do they occur, how do they occur, right? How do they occur? So these questions you have to write. How do they occur and when do they occur? You have to answer these questions in your exam. Next is diagram of the heart in the different stages of the cell cycle. They might give you a heart in which the heart is showing either atrial systole or ventricular systole. You have to see where the direction of the blood is. You have to judge which state the heart is in the cell cycle, and you have to answer few questions. Next, they might give you just a simple 1 or 2 mark question on what do you mean by a portal vein. So we know portal vein is different from a normal vein, so it's there in the book. Please look into that. Next, we continue circulatory system. They can also give you functions of the different cells of blood, RBC, WBC, platelets, lifespan and their normal value, right? They might ask you differences between artery, veins and capillary. Next, a very favorite question, very important question, they might give you a cross-sectional view of the artery and the vein. They have to and they might tell you which is what is A and what is B. So you have to identify which one is the artery and which one is the vein, and then few questions will be asked from there like usually they do. Next, excretory system. In excretory system, you need to understand that nephron, the diagram of nephron, it was there in 2018, so you need not practice it. For this year, the LS of the kidney, this diagram might be given, and you might be asked 5 questions or 4 questions related to kidney, or they can give you a full diagram of the urinary system in which you have 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, 1 urinary bladder, etc. Right? And they might ask you few questions from there as well, or they might just give you a diagram of the Malpighian corpuscle. They will not give you a diagram of the complete nephron, but just the Malpighian corpuscle. Just this diagram you will get, where you have the afferent arteriole, then you have the glomerulus here, and then you have the efferent arteriole here, and they might ask you a few questions from these as well. So for Malpighian corpuscle, please learn how to draw as well, but you need not learn how to draw an LS of the kidney or the urinary system. These diagrams will be given, right, and questions might be asked, but for Malpighian corpuscle, the diagram might be given, or you might be asked to draw the diagram as well. So please practice it. Next, we have abnormal constituents of urine, steps of urine formation. We know it's ultrafiltration, tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion. So these 3 steps, please see it. And lastly, what happens when the kidney fails, that is dialysis, what is it and all, please see it. Excretory system. So that is all about excretory system. We come to nervous system. Now in nervous system, in 2018, reflex arc diagram came. So you need not practice the reflex arc, right? Practice as in the questions. You need not practice the questions on reflex arc. You can look at the diagram of neuron. Neuron is very important for this year, right? You can have a diagram of the neuron and several questions on it. You can have the definition of synapse. What is synapse? This is important. Functions of the different parts of brain and spinal cord, needless to say. Meninges का all the 3 layers, dura mater, arachnoid, pia mater, ठीक है, all these layers, dura mater, then you have, this is dura mater, arachnoid and pia mater. So from outside to inside, the first layer is the dura mater, followed by arachnoid, followed by pia mater, and within these meninges layer you have a clear liquid called the CSF, or the cerebrospinal fluid. So they might ask you a question like, where is the CSF located? CSF is located within the layers of the meninges. It is also located, CSF is also located in the ventricles of brain, and also in the central canal of the spinal cord, So please look into it, differences, the different locations of the cerebrospinal fluid. Next, we have reflex action. Now reflex action is important, the definition of reflex action, the 2 types of reflex action. Next, this diagram, it again comes, if you look into your 10 years, you will see several diagrams of the eye. They might give you an eye with hypermetropia, they might give you an eye with a condition called myopia, and you might be asked to identify the defect. What defect is this? So your first question will be identify the defect. Next question will be what is the causes of this defect and how would you treat it, right? So this is again very important. They might give you a diagram of the internal labyrinth, inner labyrinth of the inner ear, and they might ask you several questions, right? I ka diagram is rare, I ka LS is rare, but they might give you, and they might ask you several questions on that. But this tear is important. They might give you what is the gland from which tear is secreted, so you have to write it is the lacrimal gland, right? And what is the function of this tear, what is the bactericidal effect, so you know that tear contains lysozyme, right? So these are all the important stuff which you can have from nervous system. From endocrine system. From endocrine, see, endocrine system is a very small chapter, but every year almost 5 to 6 marks questions come from here, right? Very simple. So they might give you an entire diagram of the body in which the different endocrine glands are there. You have to identify where is the pituitary gland, where is the adrenal gland, where is the thyroid gland, right? So that total picture wala diagram they can give you, and they might ask you locate the glands, their functions, etc. They might give you a question which is in combination of excretory system as well as endocrine system. How? They can give you a diagram of the kidney. So kidney, students have a tendency, oh kidney ka diagram hai, okay, it's from endocrine, from excretory system. But you will notice that adrenal gland is located here. Okay, so in your excretory system wala diagram, they might tell you what is the gland A. So you must know that it is the adrenal gland. Next, the differences between exocrine gland and endocrine gland, along with examples. They might ask you again, what do you mean by a mixed gland? Like pancreas is a mixed gland. What do you mean by a mixed gland? Or it is called a mixocrine gland. Mixocrine gland. Next, this table is very important and a very typical question, very typical question of Icse, in which you have a table in which you have the source of the hormone. Like I told you, it comes in your section 1 as well. Source of the hormone, the function of the hormone, and the hyperfunction, hypofunction. What happens when the hormone is released in excess and what happens when the hormone is released less. Again, you have to know ये दोनों के वजह से you have several diseases और diseases का symptoms भी तुमको learn करना पड़ेगा. Sometimes if the question paper is really tough, they might ask you a question like in which they will give you the symptoms of the disease and you have to identify the disease and tell how is the disease caused. So how is the disease caused? The disease might either be caused by some hypofunction of some hormone or some hyperfunction of some hormone. Right, so look into it. Next we have reproductive system, very important chapter. The diagram of sperm came in 2018, so you need not expect questions from there, but diagrams of the entire male and female reproductive system is important. What do you mean by menstrual cycle? Of course you do not have to draw them, right, but a few small questions will be asked, and labeling is very important. You must know which organ is where. Then you also have a question from menopause and menarche. Okay, what is menarche and what is menopause? Human fetus. So human fetus in womb. So that is again a diagrammatic question where a diagram of the human fetus in the womb will be given and you have to label, and several questions like from placenta, umbilical cord, etc. will be asked. Amniotic fluid will be asked, and you have to write. So again, this is a diagram based questions. Why is the testis located outside the body? Again, a very favorite question of ICSE. Next, what do you mean by gestation and implantation? Few important words which they can ask you for definition. Next is human population. So human population is again a 2-3 page chapter in which only 2-3 questions come. Like again, a very favorite question is reason for the population explosion in India. You just need to memorize 2 to 3 points. That will be more than enough. Measures of contraception, all measures of contraception you have to learn. Very important it is, and among them the most important, very important, is vasectomy and tubectomy. So diagrams of vasectomy and tubectomy will be given. You have to identify which one is vasectomy, which one is tubectomy, and in which of the two is performed in male and female. So of course vasectomy is performed in male, tubectomy is performed in female. Which one is the easier method? Of course it is vasectomy. So these few questions will be asked. The main problem is you have to identify which one is vasectomy and which one is tubectomy. right? And the last one of course is MTP, or medical termination of pregnancy. They might ask you to write the full form of this abbreviation, or why is it not MTP is not considered a very good method of contraception. Now again, the evolution of man is a new chapter, a new introduction, which is there from 2019 onwards. This is from the 2019 syllabus. They have introduced this chapter, in which I don't think so very difficult questions might come, but you need to have a basic idea about Darwinism, about Charles Robert Darwin, about Lamarck, who gave Lamarckism, their books, their theory, right? So that is about Darwinism and Lamarckism. For evolution of man, you have to draw a table. You have to draw a table in which you have to mention the different ancestors of man accordingly. First of all, you have to learn the different ancestors of man accordingly. Okay? And then you have to learn one or two features, not more, one or two features, and but the most important part is cranial capacity. We see that in evolution of man, the cranial capacity has increased remarkably. So this you see from evolution of man. The last chapter is pollution. This is your last chapter for your ICSE in your syllabus. So we see that noise pollution came in 2017. Air pollution came in 2018. So might be this is what like logic says. Air pollution is definitely no. Acha, by the way, diagrammatic question. Again, this is a diagrammatic question. So a diagram will be given, and you have to identify which pollution is this. Right, 2017 mein also you got a diagram for noise pollution. 2018 mein you got a diagram for air pollution. So might as well we might predict that water pollution or soil pollution might come for your diagram, and you need to identify and what are the causes, what is the remedy, etc. What do you mean by pollutants? Again, very important. What do you mean by eutrophication, biomagnification? These are small words whose definition they might ask you. And of course, you have to read the chapter once. Just read the chapter, not very difficult. See, the last three chapters, human population, the evolution of man, and pollution, they are not very difficult. They are very, very easy. If you invest just half an hour of yours or maximum 1 hour, I don't think so. Okay, that will take more than that. It will be easy, and I hope all the best. I give you all my best wishes. Do well, and all the best. If you find any difficulties with the questions, with the chapters, etc., you can write in the comment section below. I have given all the papers in the PDF format as a link in your description box. You need not copy everything. You will get the soft copy from there. Study well. All the best.